All right, my colleague Thomas Porteous is in New York City covering the UNGA. He has filed a ground report. Let's listen in.
Okay, we are here once again at the United Nations General Assembly. The general debate is commencing, but we are here at the headquarters in the garden before the entrance. And what we're focusing on now is the history of the United Nations. Of course, founded in 1945 after the Second World War in order to keep peace and prosperity for the human race. And around me is certain sculptures and certain pieces of art which remind us about the history which the United Nations has done. And let's start with a piece of the Berlin Wall. At that day in 1989, when that wall came down, which split East and West Berlin from Soviet and Western powers, certainly a symbol of peace. There is a part of it here in the United Nations headquarters garden here. Okay, now let's move on again. A lot of people, of course, have criticized the United Nations in their speeches. Donald Trump being the main one. Of course, he took to that stand and he said, what is the point in this organization? I myself have ended 7 wars, citing skirmishes across the border and of course, unproved conflicts like the one between India and Pakistan, both sides of which said that he didn't do this. And so it begs the question, does this body still have that peace and prosperity power that it once had? Okay, and now we continue to move on. And now we see behind us, we have a statue here of Mahatma Gandhi. Of course, many great scholars cite him for being a huge part of the independence movement from the British colonialists in 1947. We can see this was a gift from India in 2022. And below the statue it says, "There is no way to peace. Peace is the way." Now, here in the world that we live in 2025, that seems like quite a far premise. We now move on once again. Now another leader who criticized the United Nations, of course, Jawaharlal Nehru, who took the matter of the Kashmir to the United Nations, who then drew the LOC. That was established here in New York City at this very headquarters. Now, the word genocide, it makes the ears prick up now in this year, the year of 2025, mainly revolving around Israel's war in Gaza. There has been much speculation about what they're conducting in the enclave is or isn't. Now, just the other week, a United Nations body, not the United Nations itself, a body has come out and has said that indeed Israel is conducting a genocide in Gaza. Of course, Israel disputes this and says that is only responding and defending itself to those actions that were conducted by Hamas on October the 7th. But of course, tomorrow when Benjamin Netanyahu speaks, we are expected to get an answer to that. But of course, behind me is a reminder of one of those true genocides, terrible genocides in history, the Rwandan genocide in 1994 against the Tutsis in that African nation, which saw over 1 million people dead. Of course, a terrible, terrible tragedy. And of course, that word of genocide is a hugely contemplated topic this year. Now, what finally I want to go to is if I just get my cameraman to move over here, is this interesting thing, is this bench. Apologies, there's things. Here we have, peace is imperative for the survival of humanity. It represents the deepest aspirations of the men and women throughout the world. And as you see down here at the bottom, this bench here sat in the United Nations Park was dedicated by Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister at the time of Bangladesh, who is now wanted for crimes against humanity in her own country. She is in exile. She fled Bangladesh to India, where many tensions, of course, remain. And of course, this garden is a stark reminder of the 80 years of history behind this organisation. And there, of course, has been huge calls to renew it, what the future of the United Nations holds, and, of course, some scrutiny. But what, under the current political and geopolitical circumstances, is the United Nations ready for another 80 years? I guess we'll find out.